An advanced person.
Now, would you please get slow down?
Okay.
I gotta tell her.
Yeah. I'm
Okay, we're coming up. No, it's all right. We're coming up in five.
do this camera real quick.
It's okay. It's all good. I'm gonna give it about 10 more seconds. Well, I'll remove you from the stage. When you get settled, I'll bring you up. Let me start with you. Okay, we're up in three. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Please meet me on X at Santita J, at Santita J. And I am on Blue Sky, the Santita Jackson dot social, Santita Jackson dot social. More and more of you are joining us on YouTube. Thank you. Please like and subscribe there, the Santita Jackson Show. Please like and subscribe there. Like and subscribe there. And I am on Facebook, facebook.com/ Santita Jackson and Friends. So many of you are going over to Santita Jackson. Please don't go there. Please, please, please don't go there because I can't accept any friends there. I had to open up what they call a fan page. And so I need you to meet me there because that's where I can be active. So Santita Jackson and Friends so that I can accept everyone. Otherwise, Facebook kicks people off. It's not me, it's Facebook. It's their policy. I didn't make it. There you go. I promise you, we were talking about the big, beautiful bill, and we're understanding now that it was signed into law 4th of July. We're not going to really see the impact of it until after. This is really sharp politics until after the 2026 midterms. So you think it's bad now. It's really going to kick in then. So they might still have some people's votes. I don't know. But we were also talking about the Agriculture Secretary Rollins, who said, look, let the deportations go. Now, mind you, there's almost been a complete lockdown of Los Angeles because workers are not coming out. They're disappearing or they're sheltering in place. Okay, LA is not a city that is known for parks. They don't have that many parks at all. It's very interesting. It's a city for the wealthy. The beaches aren't really public and all of that. It's a lot, but I still love LA. That having been said, you had the ICE agents, of course, in their military gear, faces covered, wandering through MacArthur Park, which is one of the few places in Los Angeles where people can go and relax. But they're giving you a show of force. Well, she said, look, let these deportations continue. And I tell you what, we're going to get the people from Medicaid. We're going to put them in the farms, in the fields, and let them work for their Medicaid benefits. You can't make this up, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. You can't make it up. But I promise you before the Lord, it is very true. That's what she said at an open meeting just this morning on Tuesday. So that's the kind of world in which we're living. And so as we've been looking at the DOGE cuts, now they promised $1 to $2 trillion. They did not even reach 200 billion, I think. And so even President Trump, according to some reports, was saying, what was this? Was I gamed here? Was I scammed? I don't know, but I think that Americans have been scammed. And now people are wondering what these DOGE cuts might have had to do with the catastrophe that is continuing to unfold in Texas. More than 100 people are dead. More than 200 people have been rescued, and the toll continues to rise. 26 feet. I'm going to let Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds talk about this. Of course, we've got one of Reverend Jackson's advanced person in Texas. Someone who we've worked with for years and years and years, Diane Gibson. And she has, of course, worked in local and state government, but she's been our go-to person down there for years. This disaster has an impact upon people, Diane. That's why you've got to be here. And I don't know too many people in Texas who are not touched by this. I don't care where you live, because it's happening right down there. But you know what? All of us are watching with an increasing sense of worry and horror. Mm-hmm. You think about these children at Camp Mystic. Oh, can you imagine? Don't you remember when you were a child, when the 4th of July was coming around? Oh, it can make me cry. This was like the highlight of the summer. You were going to play with your firecrackers. Of course, you weren't supposed to, but you did.
Yes.
You put them in your neighbors' boxes. You put them in the streets. Ah, there were barbecues. There are no barbecues now because people don't have enough money to even get hot dogs to put on the grill. But there were barbecues back in the day, boy. The 4th of July was big fun. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. It was the highlight of the summer. And many of these, and all of these people who went down on this Guadalupe River, even though it's a floodplain, please, AM 950 radio, the Mississippi River starts there. We're in a floodplain, everybody. The Mississippi River starts there and runs straight down the middle of the country. But something happened, or something did not happen. There were reports that this was going to be increasing. They increased in intensity. They said this is going to be bad, but no one expected 26-foot surge. So you know what, Diane, I'm going to pivot to Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, who, of course, you all are both family members here, and he is straight out of really a briefing on what has happened because we're watching the news, but he's on the show almost every day when he's not in session. And I said, okay, you got to tell us what is going on. And then I have many more questions to ask you about how this was handled. Because I've seen many of your Texas state officials, your Department of your Emergency Management, they said, wait, we were caught completely unaware by what happened here. First of all, where are we with this? More than 100 people have died. Yes?
Absolutely. We just got a updated account, Santita, and 109 people are already dead. 109. So my heart goes out to those families.
Everybody.
Those every single person. But it breaks even more for those, as you described, those girls, those young ladies that were at the camp, uh, very young in age and full of life and vigor, and their life was, taken, far too soon. And we just found out from Governor Abbott a stunning number that there are 161 people that are still unaccounted for. And we thought that number was maybe a dozen or so, but we just got word that there was 161. Now, we're not saying all those people are dead, but we do know that those people are unaccounted for, meaning that that number of 109 deaths that have been confirmed could likely go up in the coming days as they continue the search and rescue. It's turning more into rescue, but we're hopeful and prayerful that those people will come alive and be accounted for. But every day since this incident has happened, we've seen the number go up every day in terms of the number of fatalities. So what we do know is that there are still quite a few people who are unaccounted for, that families are reported missing, that live in that vicinity, that could have potentially be impacted by the flood. Now, hopefully, that those people will be found, but this is one of the worst recent disasters in Texas history, and so obviously our hearts are heavy, and our first responders, thank them, they're working around the clock. They're doing everything they can to recover and hopefully rescue people. Many people have been rescued. Many lives were saved because of those rescue operations. But unfortunately, many of the people that were discovered, it was too late, and they were deceased.
Mm.
What happened? I know that sounds like such a simple question, but I live in Chicago. I live on Lake Michigan, like literally here. And I will hear uh, the horns go off that let me know that we have a tornado warning. Now, when it first happened, you have to honestly, I've lived in this lakefront community, since, I mean, when I was a child, I would hear it, and it didn't impact me the way that it does now that I'm in a tall building. You know, and that I'm here. And but of course, you know what old folks used to do. and my mother was not old, but she was an adult. You turned off all the lights,
Mm-hmm.
disconnected everything electrical, and you went into a corner because my great grandmama Tibby said, the devil is busy and or God wants our attention. That was her story, and she was sticking with it. But when you had thunder and lightning, when you had a storm, you know, and this is just, and maybe it's cultural. Black folks didn't mess with it. You went someplace safe, and you got a way to ride it out. I'm not blaming anyone for anything, because if it's a little rain and you're playing picnic, you say, "I'm just gonna keep on going." Right? I don't know what this interference is about, but we're going to keep on going. That having been said, something happened because, and things can change so quickly, Representative Reynolds. Maybe is that what happened? Because apparently, from the reports, the initial reports said that there is a storm coming, but certainly they didn't say it was going to be this severe. And am I not right? I want to flesh this out for you because I need you to just kind of unwind on this. This is an area that is known for flooding.
It is known for flooding. And
So does it flood like this?
no, it doesn't flood like this, Santita. But let me tell you that there are certain things that I have to say, and I'm going to be very transparent. We keep it real on the Santita Jackson show, so there's no sugarcoating here. Some people believe that it's too early. Don't play politics. We're still searching, but you can do search and rescue, and you can still talk about transparency and what happened, right? And so I'm going to tell you what happened. Obviously, this was a catastrophe. This happened very subtly, but we do know that the alerts were not where they needed to be. First of all, this was an area that is known for flooding, and since 2016, the county officials in Kerr asked the state on three separate occasions for funding for $1 million for a emergency alert system, a siren system to alert the resident of that area. They were denied that from the state of Texas. So I want to be on record. That never should have happened. $1 million for the state of Texas is like, me giving, a dollar. It's nothing. A penny. It's nothing,
Mm-hmm.
When
right?
did this
So
happen?
what's that?
When was this request made?
So this this
It
this
doesn't.
the local officials did a engineering study in 2016. That engineering study said that we need a emergency response system in the event of a severe weather alert. They were denied that request on three separate occasions for 8 years. Now we started a special session on July 21st. Governor Abbott called us back for a special session. I promise you that we will fund it. But I'm just telling you what didn't happen, Santita, leading up to this. So that's Exhibit A. Exhibit B is that we know that part of Project 2025 was to privatize, many government central functions like National Weather Service and to cut those funding. They did that. President Trump and Elon Musk through his DOGE committee, they cut. We know for a fact that the National Weather Service, that they're modeling, the meteorologists, those people that were assigned to forecast and give warning to local jurisdictions and municipalities about these disasters that are on the way, and to give warning, we know that they have been underfunded, that they have been understaffed, currently understaffed, and that was part of this Trump administration cuts. There were positions that were severely understaffed. That is a fact. And this is not me playing politics. This is me giving accurate facts. So we don't know necessarily 100%, Santita, if that's what caused the miscommunication and the information not being given to those local residents. But we do know that it's likely that it played a part in it. So
Mm-hmm.
the people of Texas and the people of this nation have a right to know. There should be accountability. There should be transparency. And we know that this is a failure. And this is what happens when you have people like President Trump and Elon Musk that want to raid our government and these professionals in our government to privatize it and to outsource it and to cut so they can give more tax cuts to billionaires. This is a product of that. So yes, when a plane crashes, we want the Federal Aviation Administration to investigate a plane crash. We know that President Trump has made cuts. When a natural disaster happens like this, want to have answers. And right now, we're not getting those answers. So we're not going to blame Biden. We're not going to blame Obama. We're not going to blame DEI. And I say all that to say because that's the first thing that typically comes out of their mouths. But they own this. And when it comes to not providing the resources to these rural areas so that these residents in an area that is known to flood, that is not, this is, yes, climate change is another thing that they have denied the impact, the frequent reoccurring impact of climate change and these reoccurring 100-year events that are
that are
keep
happening
happening.
every year.
They don't want to put science into, they want to close a blind eye. Oh, there's hoax. This is not real. So yes, Santita, it is time for accountability and answers and to rely on science and fact and not misinformation and disinformation. But that is what Governor Abbott, President Trump, and these MAGA folks are not telling people. They don't want to talk about that on Fox News. So that likely played a part. So when reporters ask these questions, they dance around and you know what they say? Now's not the time to be asking these questions. We don't need to be pointing fingers. That means that they don't want to answer. They don't want transparency. They don't want accountability because guess who was in charge? They were, Santita. So they can't punt the ball and cast blame on Obama or Biden. They own it and they're responsible. That's what's not being said, Santita.
You're not crazy. Before I asked Diane Gibson to come in, hold on. I was reading this report from Common Dreams, and they write the flooding came just over 2 months, to your point, after all living former directors of the National Weather Service published a letter sounding the alarm about President Donald Trump's proposed budget for fiscal year 2026 and its cuts to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the parent agency of the National Weather Service in the U.S. Department of Commerce. The five men, Louis Uccinelli, Jack Hayes, Brigadier General D.I. Johnson, Brigadier General John H. Kelly Jr., E.W. Joe Friday, wrote on May 2nd that, quote, even if the National Weather Service remains level funded, given the interconnectedness of all of the parts of the NOAA, there will be impacts to weather forecasting as well. We cannot let this happen. They continued. These proposed cuts come just days after approximately 300 National Weather Service employees left the public service, to your point, State Representative Reynolds, to which they had devoted their lives and careers. That's on top of the approximately 250 NWS employees who were fired as a result of their probationary status, thank you, DOGE, in a new, often higher level positions, or took the initial buyout offered by the Trump administration. That leaves the nation's official weather forecasting entity at a significant deficit, down more than 10% of its staffing, just as we head into the busiest time for severe storm predictions like tornadoes and hurricanes. Our worst nightmare, they concluded, is that weather forecast offices will be so understaffed that there will be needless loss of life. We know that's a nightmare shared by those on the forecasting front lines and by the people who depend on their efforts. You're not. These are the five living former directors of the National Weather Service. You're not crazy. This is not, I'm so tired of people talking about playing politics. Everything is politics, everybody.
That's right.
Just
That's
stop
right.
it.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Isn't politics about finding the resources and dividing them up? That's what this is.
Yes.
So you tell me, because your governor has said, "Oh, I want to deal with illegal immigration," as he put it, and so he puts them on a bus, not to take them back across the border south, He takes them all the way into the United States so they can go to work for cheap. So now he's saying, because I saw him in a helicopter flying over the flood zone. I said, wait a minute, this is what you said you wanted? There are too many people in the NWOS, in the National Weather Service, in NOAA. You said there were too many people. There's waste, fraud, and abuse there. Now,
That's
never
right.
mind that
That's
the
right.
Pentagon has flunked its audit 7 consecutive times. So you tell me, wait a minute, what did the governor say? I mean, what is his position now? Because this is, to me, this is not shame and blame. This is about taking responsibility. You could, more than 100 people have died. Every time I turn around, the numbers don't go down.
No,
They grow.
that's right.
Every time I look at the TV, more and more people are finding more and more people dead. They found some woman, she was alive, thank God, up in a tree, stretched out. I mean, everybody, it's the power of water. Oh my God. When water gets moving, you are powerless.
That's right.
So, I mean, that's what happened in New Orleans with Hurricane Katrina. When that standing wall broke, it broke the dam and there was a flood. My father went down there. He said, you saw dead bodies being rushed through the streets.
That's right.
He'd never seen anything like it in all of his life. So you got to help me to understand what, I mean, now be quiet, Chaparral. I'm not going to even repeat what Chaparral said. I'll put it up for you all because, Chaparral ain't right. She's like Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Just be quiet, Chaparral. You be quiet. You're in Facebook jail today. talking about the governor. Oh, come on, Chaparral. She's a holy woman, too. Holy roller. But hey, you talk to me. I mean, because first of all, what happens now? I mean, do the searches continue?
Yes. The
Did this take away homes?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So to answer your question, uh, you just relayed the facts. First of all, those are the numbers. That was the concern that the experts, again, the experts had, that these cuts could potentially cause, and we're seeing it play out. So it's
That's
not like
right.
we were not warned. It's not like we didn't know. We can't bury our head in the sand and say, well, wow, gosh, we didn't know that. They knew that. They were told these things and they disregarded it, right? So here we are. And so, yes, the search and rescue operations continue. But sadly, we're ill equipped right now, because if it happened tomorrow, if another thing happened, we're still understaffed. We still don't have the modeling and the experts that we had before to notify and to give proper communication to the local jurisdictions across the country. That is what's happened. We're seeing proposed cuts to FEMA to
That's
deal
right.
with these disasters. And so that is what we're looking at, Santita. All they cut these, and like you said, no defense cuts. Defense spending, oh yeah, we can throw more money. Yeah, just keep giving billions. But when it comes to experts and modeling, or meteorologists that could give a proper response to prevent situations like this from happening, oh well, we'll just go hopes and prayers that it doesn't happen. That is not a solution. That is not a remedy. They don't want to have accountability, Santita. They don't want to say, yeah, we're right, we made a mistake. They want to ignore it. They want to gloss over it. I do believe that in the future, when we start a special session on July 21st, that we will get this done in terms of emergency notification siren system that they had denied 3 separate occasions that would have only cost $1 million. But no one is going to say we messed up. They don't ever want to, they always want to blame DEI. They want to blame Biden and Obama. They never want to say, yeah, we screwed up. This is what you get when you elect us. We messed up. No, they don't accept responsibility. They don't accept transparency. They don't accept accountability, Santita. So that is why we have to educate the general public, because they're not talking about this on Fox News. They're not answering the tough questions. Ted Cruz, the United States Senator, He
Oh
doesn't
my
want to take
gosh! Would you tell people what
responsibility.
he
He's
did?
dancing. He's not giving real
No, no,
answers. So
no,
that
no, no. He did this before. Wait a
yeah,
minute. He was touring the Parthenon in Greece the day after. I said, wait a minute. Didn't he do this before?
he did. He did, Santita.
What happened?
That
I
is
mean,
failed
what did he do
leadership.
before? And what did he do this time? No, this man.
Right.
And
I
y'all
mean,
keep
I know.
electing him.
I'm
Mhm.
done with the hypocrisy. I'm done with the,
Wait,
misinformation, disinformation, and lies.
wait
And
a
that is
minute.
why I'm going to speak truth to power, Santita.
He
Thank you
said
for
he,
allowing us this platform to speak truth to power.
but he
Thank
wouldn't
you.
come home.
I
Wait a
know.
minute. He found out. We knew by Saturday this was a catastrophe.
That's correct.
We just knew
That's
we
correct.
knew it was something we
Mhm.
hadn't seen. When I'm looking on TikTok and on Facebook
Yes.
and on Blue Sky, I'm seeing this woman is
Yes.
on the second or third floor of her apartment building, and she is like, I've never seen anything like this. And you see the water, and this is early on.
Mhm.
And they had told her to evacuate. Wait a minute. When you tell people to evacuate, number one, you got to have money if you need to move.
Right.
That's
Okay.
right.
If you don't have a lot of
Mhm.
money, if you don't have a lot of resources, you are stuck.
You stepped.
Okay.
Mhm.
And this is a president, Shapiro said, this is a man who still wants to eliminate FEMA. I mean, is FEMA understaffed where you are?
FEMA is understaffed, Santita. They've made cuts here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
FEMA is not adequately staffed. That is a fact.
What are you all going to do about the senator who waited to come home? Someone confronted him at the Parthenon in Greece, everybody. He was on family vacation. I don't begrudge you as a public person or as an elected official your family time. Okay. But let me tell you, when there's an emergency, my father's not an
Thank
elected
you.
official. He was in Venezuela when they saw Hurricane Katrina coming.
That's
President
right.
Chavez said, "Hey, Reverend, this is going to be bad." He said, "I've got, I think, at least 5 Marine hospitals. I can get them because you're going to need them." My father called President Bush. President Bush said, "No, we don't need them." He said,
Mhm.
"Are you sure? Because I'm down here and they're saying this is going to be bad." No, we don't need them. Okay, so they didn't need them. My father left Venezuela,
Right.
went to New Orleans because Cleo Fields and all of our
Mhm.
people said, "You got to come here, Reverend, because our
Mhm.
kids are stuck at Xavier and Southern.
Right.
They are stuck." And these kids who are all on Pell Grants and everything else, they have no money.
Mhm.
They're barely in college. I mean, they're in college academically, but they ain't got no money. Reverend, we need you to help us. So he went there. They were having a
Mhm.
Black leadership meeting in Atlanta. He said, "Hold on. You got all of these Black leaders of these organizations in
Mhm.
Atlanta. Let me bring them here." Because every weekend, Reverend is chasing the cameras.
That's right.
And he said, "Let me get them here because if we get everybody here, it'll shine
Mhm.
a light on what's happening here. Not
Mhm.
just on Black people, but on everybody. Because everybody, well, what happened? They didn't move." So my father comes back to New Orleans trying to get people on buses. People are running to the buses, swimming to the bus, and they're crying. They're like, "Reverend, they said we knew you'd come and get us, Reverend."
That's right.
People were trying to hand him their babies.
Mhm.
My father came home so messed up, trying to
Mhm.
organize instructions. He had to get back.
Mhm.
He said, "No, no, no." He said, "You don't know how bad it is down there."
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just saying he's not an elected official.
Mhm. Nope.
Senator Cruz, you
He is
only
an
got two
elected
senators. You only
Thank
got
as a
you.
two. You only got
reality
two.
influence all elections. So he
Right.
held his duty, and he's been on notice before when he was in Cancun. This is not new to him. This is true to him. This is who he is. Maya Angelou, she said it best. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time.
Mhm.
He showing he does not care. There's a gross disregard well-being of his constituents. He is not there. Is, I mean, the hypocrisy. I mean, I'm over it. I'm
Mhm.
like Ted Cruz is a disgrace to our state. He really is.
Did a
He's a
campaign.
disgrace.
You need to make that a campaign issue because it's so irresponsible. It's frightening.
Oh, totally, Derek.
Mhm.
It's
Dude,
frightening.
yes.
It's frightening. And I mean, and for people who are talking about politics, well, hold on. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds legislative caucus. He just left a briefing on what happened. We
Mhm.
now find that 100 children have been killed. 160 people are missing. As of this, as of the recording of this show, we still don't know. Diane
That's
Gibson, what say you?
I say thank God for
Wait
both
a
of
minute.
you all.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. If you all can hear me, I can't hear you all. Okay, then. So, first of all, I want to say thank you for this platform. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. Thank you for educating us, Santina, and Representative Reynolds. I just thank you. I mean, you have educated me. I am so glad to hear that at least a special session is called for July 21st. I am totally elated because I've been on social media all day and that has not hit social media that that special session will be called. The only other thing that hurts me as a social worker by profession, it's really disheartening. We have a colleague. I work at Frank Crowley Criminal Court Building. I've just recently retired, but I did work there for Judge Marilyn Mays. And one of our colleagues, that to say that $1 million could have made somewhat of a difference would be news to him because not only did he lose two daughters, but his parents, mother and father, were there with the kids and they can't find them either. They haven't been located. That's four members in one family. And you're telling us that now you want to be reactive when you could have been proactive. And again, all I'm saying is hypothetically, that's not saying it would have made a difference, but at least it would have gave us some hope. And all I'm saying is we have got to stop with all of these major catastrophes continue to happen, not just in the United States, but also right here in Texas. At what point do we say what matters most? Do we spend the money or do we cut the program and then wait until people die and then come back and say what we woulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda done? I have a friend that says her father always says you ought to stay ready so you never have to get ready. And we just don't get it. I mean, again, you was talking about Hurricane Katrina, but you know, a week after Katrina hit, Hurricane Rita hit. So it was just back to back catastrophes that was happening. And your father actually called here. Concord was one of the churches that said, look, bring them to Concord. Friendship West, Reverend Haynes said, bring them to Friendship West. We didn't say, wait, let us get ready. Let us get ready. No, as soon as he made the clarion call to say, I need some people ready to receive these people as soon as they get to Texas. Doors was open. Every church. This is not the time, you guys, for us to be divided. This is the time for us to unite. If there was ever a time for us to unite, this is the time for us to do that. I don't know how much more has to happen. I don't know how many more people have to die before we realize Felon 47 ain't interested in us. We're going to have to take care of us. We have to. Because you guys, these are babies we are losing. And I'm not saying that babies are, nobody should lose their life if there's stuff that we can do to prevent it. I'm just sorry. I saw on social media with one lady, and we were all trying to help her, where she was saying they had lived there for 30 years and she had water almost up to the bed, and her father was bedridden. She couldn't get nobody to answer 911 calls. You guys, there is a God because they got in there and got her and her father out of that house before they were succumbed by water. You guys, and with that water comes all kind of reptiles and everything that's in that water. All of that comes up. It's just not water, it's whatever's in that water that they are threatened by. You all, it's time for us to stop saying, well, wait, let's see if it's going to happen in Dallas. No, Representative Reynolds, we've been asking and been asking $1 million question. What can we do as a people on behalf of Concord, OCBF, Friendship West, IBOP, all the Potter's House? I'm speaking for all of them. What can we do to help? What can we do?
I'm trying to. Ooh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm trying to. Okay, you can unmute Representative Reynolds because I'd like you to speak to that. Because I don't know. Clearly, there's some things that we have to do. So, Diane Gibson, I'm going to mute you and myself. Representative Reynolds, please go on because at some point I know because Reverend's not been an elected official, and that's my experience, everybody. But I also have experience with elected officials. I have two brothers who've been congressmen. I have a brother down in Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. So I've seen folks work on all these different levels from the community, elective office, on the state level, on on the national level. It's all connected here. And I mean, what should we be doing? Because this is an unfolding tragedy. I mean,
Santita,
and clearly there's something that we can be doing right now.
yeah, I want to thank Diane for just being so transparent. I mean, I appreciate having people like you that are in the community that are willing to give account for what's happening. And certainly, I know Pastor Freddie Haynes, who's a good man, a great man. I happen to be my frat brother, and I'm thankful for people like him, people like Reverend Jesse Jackson, because you don't have to have a title, an elected official, right? You don't. I appreciate the village, the old African proverb where it takes a village. Santita, you were just asking what we all can do. First of all, we all can pray, but our faith teaches us that faith without works is dead. So what we also need to do is to do our part. Everyone needs to stop voting against their own interests. Why is Ted Cruz still a United States senator when he fails people over and over and over again? We have to account for that as Texans, right? Texas elected him. He didn't. No one. He's not a king, right? He didn't anoint himself. He was duly elected. He is a awful shame that he represents Texas, where there are more African Americans in Texas than any other state in the country, where African Americans, too many sat out the election. That's why you have people like Ted Cruz in office. Too many people voted against their own interests. Many of the poor people in rural areas of Texas voted for these tax cuts, not directly but indirectly when they voted for President Trump. They voted for billionaires to get a tax break. They voted for these slashes to the National Weather Service and FEMA. They voted to hurt the very people that are supposed to be helped, the most vulnerable. So I'm really in the mode of, I want to do everything I can to work with all the pastors and clergy and first responders, my colleagues when we start the special session on July 21st. But my call to action is also to the people listening and watching at home. What will you do? You can certainly pray, you can make donations to the relief efforts, and if you have the means, certainly do that. You can volunteer, but make sure that when the next election comes, you don't sit at home and complain about the the not having a candidate that you love. Well, one somebody's going to get elected, and if you don't vote, then you don't count. So make sure that you exercise your blood given right to vote because someone shed a blood for that right that we have. Someone made good trouble, necessary trouble to end Jim Crow so that you could vote. So we cannot continue to sit on the sidelines because we're seeing elections matter. Elections have consequences. We're seeing now with these executive orders, with these cuts, Project 2025 playing out in real time. This was forecast, Santita. You go back, Diane, y'all look at Project 2025. It talks about this, not about these disasters, but about cuts to organizations like FEMA, privatizing, outsourcing, corporate greed is what leads to things like this. And greed so that there can be more profit off of these government services. And so I'm going to call it out. Now, I'm not playing politics, Santita. You were duly right when you said everything is politics. When is the right time to talk about it, Santita? They don't want to talk about it because they don't want accountability. They don't want to hear their colossal failures that led to these tragic deaths. Every time there's a mass shooting, they don't want to talk about gun reform legislation. Never is never a right time to talk about gun reform legislation because after a mass shooting, oh, it's politics. Then they want you to go to the next news story. They don't want you to talk about why they didn't have, why they didn't ban semi-automatic weapons, or why they didn't raise the age to purchase assault rifles to 21, or why they didn't close the gun show loophole so there's background checks. They don't want to ever talk about that. So they never want accountability, Santita and Diane. There's never a right time for them because they don't want accountability. They want to keep giving false narratives and hoping through censorship that people won't know that what led and what was responsible. So yes, there needs to be responsibility. There needs to be accountability. And the only way you do that is through transparency and through being able to talk about it in a meaningful, factual way where you don't whitewash it and sugarcoat it so that people don't know the truth. Ted Cruz is a embarrassment. Governor Abbott was in charge when these requests were made from Kerr County officials for these sirens. President Trump was responsible to put Elon Musk over DOGE that slashed the National Weather Service and these modeling, forecasting, and cutting meteorologists that had the experience and expertise to predict and warn areas like Kerr County of disasters that people needed to know so they could evaluate properly. So yes, there is a lot of responsibility to go around, Santita. And again, Texans and Americans have responsibility in voting for these people that are making the decisions that impact all of us, not just some of us, but all of us. Because guess what? Whether I voted for Governor Abbott or not, he's still my governor. Whether I voted for President Trump or not, he's still my president. And he has a responsibility to all Americans and to all Texans. And they are showing that they are failing miserably when they are deemed to govern.
You know, I think you're making a brilliant point. And I saw something. I saw a documentary on Thomas Jefferson over the Fourth of July holiday. And I always look for I look forward to the Fourth of July because it's fun. But I also look at the History Channel and I try to catch these overviews of presidents in particular and their policies and how they responded to the great issues of their day or some historical figure. What was interesting was this. Do you know how I've always said that I really wish a president would leave their party once they went to office? Because I'm like, I don't want a Democratic or Republican president. I really don't. I want a president. I want you to act in the best interest of, I want you to make, let your conscience guide you. I pray that you have one, and let your constituents lead you. We have had one president in our history, one who had no party. You know who that was? George Washington. He's the same president who called upon us not to have a two-party system. He said, because it's going to dissolve into tyranny. We don't need to do this. You need to be driven by your constituents and your conscience. That's all. And the more that I see this, it's like when I hear people trying to make this a Republican or Democratic thing, I don't know what parties these families belong to. Many of them are sure voted for President Trump for one reason or another. And I've got to respect that because it's your vote. It's your business. You do with it what you will. Okay? That's why the way that Democrats handled this campaign was so dangerous.
That's right.
It was so damaging. Because they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They didn't have to lose. But that having been said, wait a minute. As Luther Vandross used to say, keep it right there, keep it right there. You cannot let these people continue to say, let's stop play politics. No, no, let's be grown people and take responsibility.
Yes,
These people did not have to die. That's it. That's all. Somebody needs to ask the question, when we requested the $1 million, why did you refuse the request?
yes. I have not heard that yet, Santita. No
And so,
one.
but somebody, and not just one person, y'all need to come together and demand. And you know what? You need. It's
Absolutely.
in the House of Commons at the. I watch Q&A time, question time, in the British House of Parliament, and I love it because they are shouting at each other. I mean, they're not shouting at each other. They're having vigorous discussions, and they don't budge. And you all need to have that kind of discussion
I agree. Totally.
with the governor or somebody and say, no, 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 I can't, no, 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 well, no, what we don't know. Why in a floodplain where you're known for floods that can be catastrophic? Why did you deny them sirens?
Yes. Yes.
That's not playing political. I don't care about you. You all should know by now. I don't care about your party. I really don't. It's two wings of the same bird. I'm over that. I don't care about that. See, I'm with George Washington on this whole piece. When you get in office, I want you need to serve everybody. When someone comes into your office, you don't need to know what party they are or whether they voted for you or not. That has nothing to do with anything. You represent them and you need to be responsible and responsive. When this woman walked up to Ted Cruz, according to a report, at the Parthenon the day after this catastrophic flood, because you heard 26 feet, you went, wait a minute, what? 26 feet? Who? And he's touring the Parthenon with a security person, because of course he's a U.S. senator, so he's going to have security. The U.S. embassy is going to be taking care of him over there. And he apparently shot this person a look. I said, wait a minute. Uh, you need to get him back. They'll need to have a town hall meeting on him and invite him to it. And if he's not there, have an empty seat.
There you go. That's it.
You need to have the governor. Y'all need to have some town hall meetings.
That's right. That's right.
If he's not there, have an empty seat.
That's right.
Say no, no, nobody. You need to explain to Kerr County, is it?
Yes. That's right. Kerr
You
County.
use them sirens.
That's right. I
I
totally agree, Santita. I could not agree more.
mean, that's it.
Period.
You. I
That's
mean,
right.
this is. I mean, every day you see these people, and this is just. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. And when you see these little children who are
Oh, it breaks my heart.
mystic, oh my gosh! And you think
It
of
was
the
stuff
people
like,
just above them, the
yeah,
counselors,
yeah.
the men who ran the camp. All
That's
these
right.
folks. I cannot imagine the terror of those babies
That's right.
when
I
that water
totally
when that water came in on them. Can you imagine?
no, I can't. The horror, I can't. I just can't.
So I mean, just tell me, what are the next steps? Because
So
clearly, do you think they're going to get a siren system now?
I do believe that, but it's too late. I mean, yes,
Ugh.
that I would bank everything that I own that yes, when we go back on the special session on July 21st, we will pass a bill with appropriations to fund a siren system for Kerr County. But the sad thing about it, Santita, is that should have been done a long time ago. This first request was made 8 years ago, and it was made three times. That is the new reports that came out. And so, yes, I do believe we can do it because you're right. I mean, we all know that we can't go back and into the future, into the past, but this should have never happened. And so we have to again assess responsibility so that there is accountability. I guarantee you, Santita. I mean, I know we're not talking about Democrat Republican, but I guarantee you, in my heart of hearts, if this was if Governor Abbott was black, then they would have been like, well, why did you deny that? So
No,
I
no, no,
mean,
no, no,
there
no,
needs
no. Wait a minute. You're not wrong. Because hold on. Part of the tears that the corporate media are crying or weeping is because it's white people.
that's right.
And
That's right.
that's part of the tragedy. I'm not going to candy coat that.
Saying the quiet
And
part out.
that's wrong. That's wrong
Men,
because in Katrina, while people are desperate to get
yeah,
something to eat, something to drink, black
yeah,
folks were looting. White people were trying to find a way out.
that's right.
Y'all just really, you just ought to be over all of because we're all being gaslit here.
We all are being gaslit, Santita, and I'm bold enough to say the quiet parts out loud because that's the conversations that is being happened off the air. What if these were black kids? What if these were brown kids? Right? Because we've seen disasters where, like Uvalde, those were Hispanic kids. There wasn't this kind of response, Santita. I'm just saying that to say we need to have all lives should matter. When Black lives matter, when Hispanic lives matter, when poor lives matter, that's when I'll be more satisfied. That's when we'll see more response.
Wait a minute,
When
wait, poor white folks.
poor white
Because
folks,
nobody cares about Appalachia.
poor white folks. That's right. That's right.
They don't
That
care. They don't care
yes,
about these white folks who go down in the mines and get black lung disease. They don't care.
that's
What
right.
they do is they drop fentanyl on them so they can be high out of their minds and die soon.
There you go. That's it, Santita. Absolutely right. So, and another thing too, Santita, sadly, that many people vote against their own interests
Oh
when
man.
they even know it, and they are voting uh, for for the price of eggs to go down, and then they're getting these massive tax cuts. I mean, tax breaks for the wealthy, and then they're slashing goods and services for rural communities, for urban areas, for poor people. They're cutting Job Corps. They're cutting the National Weather Service. They're cutting, diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're doing that, and though they're funding the Pentagon and more arms for weapons so that the arms manufacturers make more money, and you know funding more wars when they say they can't feed the poor. They're cutting free and reduced lunches for students so they go to school hungry. They're cutting funding for public education so they can get tax subsidies for vouchers for wealthy families. So that's we got to call it out for what it is, and people have to stop voting for against their own interests and start holding all elected officials accountable. I think Democrats should be held accountable. Republicans, Independents, Green Party, anybody that holds public office should be held accountable. No one is immune from accountability, and all of us should hold our local, state, and federal officials accountable. In this case, Ted Cruz, Governor Abbott, they should be held accountable.
They should be held accountable. And this is just it's horrible. There's so many dimensions to this tragedy.
That's right.
Chief among the dimensions is the fact that it didn't have to happen.
It didn't have to
You,
happen.
not and certainly not to this degree.
Not
You
at
know,
all.
we've got to figure out before we go, State Representative Reynolds. Because we keep having these unforeseen events, right? My
Yeah,
father said when I went away to college, he wanted me to find a church. He said because the storms of life hit and they hit without warning, and if your soul is not anchored in the Lord, you will drift away, and I will not have done my job. He said I wouldn't be able to live with that. Please do that for me. He said more. He said more than that. Do it for you, please. We've got to come up with a plan. And I really wish you and your colleagues would think this through. Everybody in, nobody out. I don't care how much money you have, how much money you don't have. If they call for people to leave, we need to have buses, trains, planes, and automobiles, and places where people can go. And look, We pay taxes all the time. I'm not talking about your income taxes. Everything you buy is taxed.
That's right.
Everything. So all this extra, extra, extra on these, we didn't have income taxes until the Federal Reserve came in, okay, in 1913, because you pay taxes on everything. So the money is there, okay? People should not have to shelter in place because they have no money.
That's right.
That I mean, that is that's why many times when we see these people, they're like, "Where can I go? I can't go anywhere. I've got to stay here. I don't have my payday is in another week or it's another 2 weeks. Oh, I just had payday and all that money's gone. I got to stay here. There's nothing else I can do. All my food is here. Everything I've got is here. Now, come on, Representative Reynolds.
You're
We got to
absolutely.
come up. We got to come up with something so that people are not. We stop reducing people. We've got to elevate people.
That's right.
Nobody should have to what, get stuck and die because you don't have any money.
I know. It's unacceptable.
Oh my gosh. No, it is acceptable, but we've got to make it unacceptable.
I agree.
It's acceptable because it's law. We don't, and if you bring it up, people are going to tell you these are freeloaders. No, the
Yep.
biggest freeloader I know is Big Pharma, biggest welfare state, Wall Street. Oh,
Yes.
they're freeloaders. All of them are. All of them. The American people are grinding it out every single day. And we're getting precious little in return. And we've been so brainwashed that when we say that we want our government to serve us instead of us being servants to them, we think there's something wrong with us.
Right. Yep.
What do you want to say before we go? And I thank you. And I know you were speaking also, but I reached out to you on, of course, Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis. We love Rodney Ellis, but you know, you got to help me to understand just what's the path forward for us, because this is our collective tragedy.
Santita, I think part of it is continuing to hold us accountable, not to make excuses, but to deliver, to answer the tough questions and to come up with solutions, working with all stakeholders, experts, scientists, to make sure that we are doing and utilizing our innovation, technology, and resources so that these things don't happen. So, holding elected officials accountable, not allowing us to um, make excuses, taking responsibility, certainly getting through this tough period of the rescue, but far beyond this, even when the next thing, because we know that's just the way it works. There's going to be a next something that we don't lose sight, and now we're chasing the next story. That we hold steady and that we stay the course, that this is a marathon, not a sprint, that we are going to stay the course and we are going to make sure that our government is responsible to the citizens. And when they are not, that we have a duty to call it out, to speak truth to power, and to elect and vote to fire. That is the way people fire people, just like you would fire an employee if they were responsible for causing massive failure and it was inexcusable. They're fired. Well, guess what? State officials, local officials, federal officials, they should be held accountable as well. We have a fiduciary duty to our constituents, not the lobbyists, not special interests, but the people that we serve. And that includes the least of them, the vulnerable. And so that is what I'm saying, Santita, is that continue to have these platforms, to have this dialogue so there's transparency and there's accountability. And at the end of the day, all of us have a shared responsibility in ensuring that our government works the way that it was intended to.
Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds giving us the latest on what's happening in Texas. I thank you for your service, head of the Black State Legislative Caucus, but really a leader in Texas and a leader really all around the country. You are just,
Thank
you're a
you.
blessing. You're a blessing. And I thank you
I,
for being on
I
point.
I appreciate you in this platform, Santita. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming back on and staying on top of this and other current issues as well. Thank you.
Well, you do. And I thank you for that. Everybody, please pray for the people of Texas. But you know what? As Americans, whether we are in Minneapolis, St. Paul, or in Chicago, or Atlanta, or Memphis, as AMX, everybody, uh, Ashley King is now known as AMX. And if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, please let me know. I want to honor your name change. Um, Everybody, we have an obligation to take care of each other. We really do. We have an obligation. Pray for the people of Texas. I don't care who they voted for. Don't do that. Don't do that. Really. Don't do that. Because we're just ill prepared to take care of our most vulnerable people. Our most vulnerable people, the poor, the middle class, the upper middle class. Yeah. Keep on going with the food chain. Unless you are moderately wealthy, you don't stand a chance. So we've got some work to do, everybody. We need a healthcare system that takes care of everybody. You ought to be able to go to the doctor, any hospital, anywhere. We need more hospital beds. We have 350 million people in the United States. We don't have 1 million hospital beds. If we had hospital beds for 1% of the population, we'd have 3.5 million hospital beds. How is that we continue to build bombs but no hospital beds? Think about that, everybody. We're the ones who set the priorities. Think about that. What if disaster were to strike and they told you to move? Would you be able to immediately? What if these ATMs didn't work? I mean, what would you do? Yeah, everybody gets caught flat footed because the storms of life hit, as my father said, and they hit without warning. And you might get a siren, but you're not ready to move everything and maybe come home to nothing. Think about that. Think about that, everybody. So I'm sending you so much love, everybody. Like and share the show. Like and share the show. Who like and share the show? Like and share the show. I'm going to work on this static. I might be on another device tomorrow, but I thank you for sticking with us. I love you, everybody. The Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. God bless.